All right, Nick, let's talk about the New England Patriots. This is a team, when they make moves, people look and listen. They make sure they write this down. They kind of keep tabs on it because whenever Bill Belichick makes a move, you always got to keep your eye on it because it's always something that could come out in the season to be something that was really smart. And I think a few of the moves they made today were very interesting, and Patriots fans are going to love to hear about them.
Yeah, Miles, I could not agree more. Look, I'm coming to you from Worcester, Massachusetts right now, a few hours away from my brother-in-law's wedding. I should be focused on that, but because of this Patriots news, and I'm in New England, we got to talk about it and bring it to you now. So great report here that Miles dug up. But before we get into that, New England fans, look, you've been through most of training camp at this point. You've seen one preseason game. You kind of know who a lot of these players are, a lot of the movers and shakers on this football team. Give us your breakout candidate for the 2023 season based on what you've seen so far in the comment section below. Brian, might as well throw it back over to you now. What's the latest moves out of New England?
Yeah, Nick, so there's a few interesting transactions that came out of New England recently. I'm going to read the tweet about it, and then we will dive into what this means for the team. First of all, this is from over at Evan Lazar, a Patriot insider, talking about roster moves. He said, Patriots roster moves, they have signed running back C.J. Marable and O-lineman Micah Vanterpool, both recently played in the USFL. And to make room for that, they released linebacker, I will try to say his name, Olakunle Fatukukase, and special teams player Jordan Healig. So they cut those two guys. They make these two signings, Nick, and we're going to focus on the signings today. I think both of these guys are really interesting prospects coming over to the Patriots. I want to focus on the offensive lineman Vanterpool first because I think this guy is a really, really interesting prospect because if you go back to his college career, he did some very interesting things. He even did some good stuff in the USFL as well. So, but in college, Nick, this is a guy who played at Hawaii. He played left and right tackle along with playing left and right guard in his 5 years at Hawaii. He could be a really interesting piece for the Patriots because he could fill in pretty much anywhere, probably even play center if he wanted to. But this guy was very, very good. But you go over to his most recent, what have you done for me lately type of performance in the USFL. And this is a guy who was really good in pass protection in the USFL. He allowed 0 sacks in the 13 games that he played as a guard in the USFL. So I think this was a really sneaky move for them. But I like this signing because Bill Belichick, he has an interesting taste, an interesting perspective on offensive linemen. I think he sees something that a lot of other people don't see. So I think this guy, we might want to keep our eye on him as he goes into the season because he could fit in anywhere on this offensive line and be a contributor going forward. But Nick, what do you think about this guy? And I'll maybe get your thoughts on the other guy as well.
Yeah, so the O-lineman acquisition, I love it. It's really smart. This is exactly what Belichick does, and a lot of other smart teams that operate this way do this well as too. So look, anytime you bring in guys for training camp, whether they make the roster or not, you're taking that opportunity to teach them the offense, to get used to the personnel. That way, if something happens during the regular season, like an injury, you can bring in a guy who was cut, who didn't quite make the team after training camp. You have an offensive lineman here who is extremely versatile. Left tackle, left guard, right tackle, could probably play center like you suggested. You get him in camp, he learns the offense, he learns the personnel. Maybe he makes a team, maybe he doesn't, but if he doesn't make the team, if and when you have an injury at any one of those offensive line positions during the regular season, you got a guy you can call up who's played professional football, whether it's USFL or not, a guy who knows your scheme and who's versatile. That checks every box. It's everything you want about a mid-season backup addition, and that's a perfect move by the New England Patriots here because offensive line injuries, frankly, injuries at any position are going to happen. You need to be prepared for when it happens. Bad teams tend to react instead of be proactive. This is why the Patriots always make a lot of smart moves, are always in a lot of smart situations because they're proactive. This is an example of that, so a great job by Belichick and company for this. But talking about the running back, talking about Marble, I think it's a very interesting acquisition because obviously there have been a lot of rumors, whether Elliott or Dalvin Cook. And here's the thing. I think this could still happen. I think there's a strong chance that one of those actually may end up happening. But I love the Marable acquisition, bring him into the fold now, very similar to the offensive lineman because Marable was a guy who at Coastal Carolina was a receiving running back threat as well as a traditional running back threat in a lot of different ways. In a spread offense, for example, his senior year, he caught 7 touchdown passes out of the backfield. This is a guy who has a potential to be a playmaker in the receiving game. And so you can bring him into the fold, let him learn the offense, let him learn the personnel, And let's say you have an injury at running back. Let's say it's Montgomery, for example, and you want another guy, another receiving threat in at running back you want to bring in during the regular season. You can call this guy. You can call Marable. He can come in, slide in, no problem. A guy like Ezekiel Elliott, a guy like Dalvin Cook, he doesn't need training camp. He doesn't need preseason. He's a guy you could bring in if you want to bring him in week 1, week 3, week 8. It's not going to matter. He doesn't need to learn the offensive scheme because he's been around the block. I know people like to say that, oh, he's got to learn the Patriots scheme because he's from Dallas. 99% of NFL offenses are exactly the same. There's some jargon, some vernacular that's different, but it's all pretty much the same. It's just translating a tango to a Ricky. Like, it's just getting used to things like that. So I think this is really smart by New England. They're getting young guys in who could fill in if they don't make the team, replacing injuries down the road, which definitely will happen. It's just a matter of reality in the NFL. For those reasons, I think this is really smart moves by the New England Patriots.